The scariest day in Valerie Sobel's life began when she answered the phone one morning. It was a man. He'd taken Valerie's daughter, Simone.
The phone call I received was on the landline. It said, "This is a kidnapping ransom call." And I said, "Really? Who is this?"
Then a female voice came on the line. Valerie felt her world begin to tilt.
She said, "Mom, I'm in terrible trouble. Please help." She didn't call me mother or Valerie or mommy. She calls me mom. I had no doubt that this was my daughter.
The snarling man's voice came back and demanded her cell number. He called her on it and told her if she hung up, Simone would pay the ultimate price.
"Listen up. I have your daughter's finger. Would you like the rest of her in a body bag, or would you shut up and follow instructions?" Pretty much in that voice, at which point you stopped really thinking.
Valerie's stark terror is amplified by one chilling reality.
Simone is my one and only child. Lost my 18-year-old son, and it's almost tragicomic that somebody would pick on me by sheer accident, somebody who has only one child left.
The voice demanded to know how much money was in the house.
He says, "Take it in your hand." Once I did, he screamed at me if I know where my car keys are. And when I assured him I did, he had me out of the house screaming, "Are you in your car yet?" I said, "No, I'm in the elevator. I may lose you." He says, "She's dead if you lose me."
Valerie careened out onto sunny Los Angeles streets, alone, but for the growling voice on the phone, pressing her to hurry up.
"No, I can't run any stop signs."
And letting her know that she's being watched, but never telling her exactly where to go.
I told him I was in the car, and he says, "Start driving south." I didn't know for a moment south of what, south of where. I said, "Where am I going?"
She just didn't know where to go, so Valerie stopped the car. The ugly voice seemed to know.
He says, "Are you driving?" I said, "No, you didn't tell me where to go." "Go to the corner of Wilshire and Doheny. You know the CVS drugstore there?" I said, "Yes, I do." "You go there, and when you are ready to park, I will tell you what to do." All of this on a histrionically high volume, keeping me both scared and very present.
The pressure was unrelenting. There was no room to think. Simone's life was on the line. There was only the reality of the instructions, commands barked by the kidnapper. She got to the drugstore, charged through the doors.
He said, "This is what you are going to do. You are going to buy a MoneyGram. Cause no attention. If there is a line, stand in line. When you get to the teller, keep on calling me son. Son, don't worry. Son, your wife will have in her account the rent check. Don't worry, son. It's happening now in minutes."
It took almost 20 agonizing minutes.
"Okay, here."
Then Valerie was back in the car. The bullying voice instructed her to tear up the MoneyGram receipt and throw the scraps in a dumpster behind the drugstore.
I said, "What should I do now?" He says, "Park and shut up." So I parked, and I didn't say a word. Then he said, "I am back. Start driving to your house, and when you are 4 blocks from there, let me know."
The phone went silent. No commands, no threats, and then...
He says, "We are going to toss your daughter out of our truck. You are not to make eye contact with our driver. Our license plate is covered up. Just go there, sit there, and wait until you see your daughter." At which point he hung up. I was parked in front of my home, and I wait, and I wait. I am not thinking of making a call. I'm just having my eyes peeled anywhere in the vicinity for my daughter. I knew that I have to do as I'm told. I had no idea who I was dealing with, what I was dealing with, but I knew it was very real, very serious. He had a technique whereby he kept me moving exactly to do. And when there was a silence, I was missing him.
Valerie waits. No more calls, no truck, no Simone. Then, for the first time since this terrifying ordeal began, Valerie dials a number. She's never felt more frightened or alone.
I started to call my daughter and no answer. I called her home. I called her cell phone, no answer. At that point, I thought I'm going to have a stroke.
She tries again. This time, someone answers.
I said, Simone, and she said, yes. I said, are you okay? She says, why wouldn't I be?
Simone was never in danger. Valerie was the victim of virtual kidnapping. You get a threatening phone call, someone demanding ransom for your loved one's safe return. It's all a scam.
I could tell something was really wrong, and then I said, Mom, what is going on? What is wrong? And I got scared.
I said, tell me where you are. She says, I'm at home.
She just sounded really, really freaked out. Where are you? Are you okay? You know? And I had no idea what to think.
I was involved in something horrific. It was a phone call. It was a telephone crime. I was told that you are in the hands of kidnappers. She said, are you kidding? I said, does it sound like a joke?
Valerie Sobel is the victim of the cruelest of crimes. It's called virtual kidnapping. It starts with a terrifying phone call.
Listen up. I have your daughter's finger. Would you like the rest of her in a body bag, or would you shut up and follow instructions?
But it was all a scam for money.
It's very much like it's dialing for dollars. It's cold calling. They're going to know inside the first 5 to 10 seconds whether or not they've sufficiently horrified you into giving them money.
Christopher Voss is the former lead kidnapping negotiator for the FBI. Chris points out these guys prey on a parent's greatest fear, hurting the people you love.
He had me out of the house screaming, are you in your car yet? I said, no, I'm in the elevator, I may lose you. He says, she's dead if you lose me.
Voss broke down the most traumatic day of Valerie's life for Crime Watch Daily.
It's critical for a virtual kidnapper to keep a victim on the phone. And that's another thing that one of the other pieces of information they're going to be able to gather within the first 5 to 15 seconds is whether or not they're going to be able to keep you on the phone.
She said, Mom, I'm in terrible trouble, please help.
They either duplicated Valerie's daughter's voice through some sort of technology, or they just took a chance and they had someone screaming, a young lady screaming in the background, and they knew immediately that they'd sufficiently frightened, horrified, terrorized Valerie into giving them money.
He says, go to the corner of Wilshire and Doheny. You know the CVS drugstore there? I said, yes, I do. You go there, and when you are ready to park, I will tell you what to do.
Well, they're trying to see how much money they can get quickly. Can they frighten you? Can a virtual kidnapper frighten you into going to some place where you can transfer money nearly anonymously, and they can get away with it? They want it to happen very quickly.
His demeanor was as if he was high on drugs. He spoke very fast. He spoke very loud. He obviously was trained. I knew that he's doing this not for the first time. I felt there was a technique behind it because he truly gave me no time to process anything.
If you have an extreme enough negative emotion, what happens is there's chemical changes in your brain that actually make it physically more difficult for you to think.
If they convince you with their voice that you are the key to their longevity, then you simply take orders.
And they can only keep you in that state for so long because it's exhausting. So it's probably only going to last for about an hour, hour and a half.
And it wasn't until the money was sent and the virtual kidnapper hung up that Valerie finally found the moment to think and to call Simone to find out if she was okay.
Simone, please pick up.
We live in a society these days, a tremendous amount of information is available online. I'll only need to know the name of your child, and I can probably scare you into giving me money.
It's this scared, unfocused thinking that makes virtual kidnapping the perfect crime for an easy buck.
It's easy for virtual kidnappers to get away with their crime, which is why it's spreading, because they have very little exposure. They only have to make a telephone call. And if you can conduct 4 or 5 virtual kidnappings in a day and get anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 per kidnapping, you might be able to get up to $50,000, $60,000 for a day's work. That's pretty good money.
Yep, easy money. Unless, of course, you know how to fight back. Let's say you get one of those frightening phone calls.
The best thing for someone to do who gets one of these calls is simply hang up.
Even though it goes against every instinct and you are scared to death, hang up the phone.
If they've really got your child, you can probably hang up on them 10 times, and they're still going to call back, because if they have your child, there's nobody else for them to call. It's not like they can call one of your neighbors to get a ransom. They can only get that money from you, which gives you a bit of a tactical advantage if you think about it. So hanging up is always the first thing to do.
Next, ask questions.
The first question, of course, they have to ask themselves is, how do I know that they have my child? The second follow-on question to ask, which is a realistic question, is, how do I know if I pay that I'll get my child back? You have to know both things before you pay. Kidnappers actually understand this because they're looking at this from reasonable and rational questions. So those are 2 things that you can actually ask them and be completely cooperative and tell them you have every intention to pay as soon as you find both of those things out.
And believe it or not, the numbers are actually in your favor. There are only around 100 kidnappings for ransom nationwide every year. But that low number is cold comfort for Valerie and Simone Sobel. The fallout of virtual kidnapping for them has been terrible.
I'm disoriented. I'm forgetting words. I've experienced confusion. My doctors thought I had a mini stroke. I'm very thankful to your network that this message is allowed to be heard, because I'm very, very anxious that others don't have to go through that.